Hello and welcome to Is This Good? The show where we boldly, conclusively, and scientifically decide what things in this big wide world are good. I'm Matt Austin, and with me as always is production powerhouse Jason Doyle.
Hello.
Hi JD, thanks for coming, and like me, today's guest left the legal world behind for the glitz and glamour of sports blogging and podcasting. He's a former writer, producer, editor at SB Nation, and a current podcaster on Shutdown Fullcast, the world's only college football podcast. Till now, I've known him only as @CelebrityHotTub on Twitter, but today I meet the man behind the handle, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Nanni. Ryan, welcome to Is This Good?
Thank you for having me. Mom and Dad, I'm sorry about the whole law school thing. That was a mistake.
I did check you out on LinkedIn, the worst social media platform on the internet. Had to do a little digging, and sure. My mouth was agape because we lived parallel lives. We went to college at the same time, same years. Yeah. Then we went directly to law school, same years. Mm-hmm. Are you still a member in good standing of the New York State Bar Association?
No. I'm pretty sure you can Google it. And I think Bill Barnwell Googled it at one point. You can find the letter that I wrote to the State Bar Association that was like, please, release me from your grip, but dishonorably discharge me so that I don't have to keep taking CLEs, please.
Okay, but do you not know about the retirement option?
What's the I kind of know about the retirement option, but I didn't think that was accessible to me at the time.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe I shouldn't tell you, but I think it was, because I am retired.
You're retired?
I am retired. Just a freedom 41, as they say. But unlike you, I graduated law school in Canada, and then McGill University, and I took the New York Bar because I wanted to have some sort of professional licensing. But then, unlike you, I never actually practiced. I moved to Toronto, and that's when I got involved with JD and Skeets and Tass, working in the glitz and glamour of podcasting, as I mentioned. But then they were constantly asking me for money, the New York State Bar, and they were constantly telling me do these CLEs, which is continuing legal education. And I was like, I barely understood the regular education. I don't think I need to be up on the newest stuff. So then I saw a box I could tick that said retire, and you stop having to take CLEs, and you stop having to pay them. Now, if I actually wanted to practice law, I would have to unretire, and then I think there would be a mountain of fees and CLEs. But that's why I hope to never, ever go back to it. But I like you burned the bridge behind you.
Yeah, I like, maybe I did it the unnecessarily formal way, but there was like a order from the State Bar Association that's like, Ryan is out. We no longer avow him. We disassociate with this man.
So wait, why did you leave law?
I was moonlighting as a blogger under a pseudonym at the same time that I was at my last job. I was working for the city's internal investigations department. So I was like going to Rikers Island to report to listen to whistleblowers who wanted to say like, hey, here's some shit a corrections officer allegedly did.
Oh, and then so cops loved you.
Yeah, super popular. Just super popular, dude. And then on the side, like at night or on the weekends, I was blogging about college football. And then when Mike Bloomberg could no longer run for re-election, could no longer continue to rig the state election system to give him more terms, we got a new mayor. I got all new bosses, and I was just sort of like, I don't know if any of these people are going to like me, what they're going to want to do with me. And I had a full-time offer to go write, in a real way. And I was like, I don't know. Let's go do this. Let's go try this. I had been a lawyer at that point for 6 years. So I felt like, okay, I have given this a pretty good shot. And in the back of my mind, because I hadn't yet sent this letter, I was like, I can always go back. I can always return to this life. Now I'm like, oh, they would never have me. They would do one Twitter search and they'd be like, absolutely not, you're out.
Well, I don't know. Do you have the same experience where, I mean, I still am friends with a lot of people I went to law school with. A lot of them were my friends before. None of them seem happy. So do you feel like a bit of vindication?
Yes. I will say that I have some friends who I think, like, they've sort of, like, tucked themselves away. Like, I have one friend who ended up he now works in the legal department of the law school we went to. And that seems like pretty chill. Like, the hours aren't crazy, and he kind of gets to enjoy the campus atmosphere a little bit. It's not quite, it's not like he's a lawyer trying to generate profit or win lots of trials or whatever. But yeah, I other than the fact that New York City attorneys make so much money for so long, other than that, yes.
Yeah, that is the only thing. I like your buddy's path, because he's like, I went to school for this, then turns out being a lawyer sucks, and I absolutely hated it to the point where I had to quit, but now I'm back training more people to do the thing that I hate.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this was your experience, but I was stunned at how many law professors I had who were like, oh, I've never practiced. Like, I remember
100%.
My
100%.
criminal law professor was like, oh, I've never practiced law. Like, I graduated law school, I went to go get an LLM, and I have been in academia ever since. And I've never practiced criminal law once in my life. Here, I'm going to tell you all about it and how it works.
Yep. Yeah, well, don't worry. JD and I went to school for television in undergrad. That's where we met Skeets and Tass as well. And all of our professors were like, I was a PA one summer in 1978 on a kids' television show. Right. I was in charge of gluing the googly eyes on the puppets, and now I will be teaching you how to make television. So I think that's in all fields of academia. I did see a tweet of yours that said the following. My only professional goal in 2023 is to appear on as many podcasts as possible, especially ones where I am unqualified to be there. So I'd like to know, what are we now? We're summer, so we're kind of halfway through. How many have you done, and which were you most unqualified to be on?
I think there have been 73 that have come out.
Come on!
Wow.
I think there are a couple that are still being edited, but we're right around the 7. We're in the 70s now.
Oh my God.
The hockey podcasts, I am woefully. I've done like 7 of them, and I enjoy. I've had a good
Why do they
time
keep having you
them.
back?
I think they're just like, I don't know. Let's see what this idiot has to say. Like, what could he possibly propose? So I'm not qualified for those. I did a med school podcast, which was all about, it's just like several people who are at different levels of med schools. I think like the University of Iowa Medical School like sponsors this. It's like an official thing that they do.
All right, some quick housekeeping. We do have merch. Go to isthisgoodpod.com to get the Is This Good retro logo tee or hoodie. Join the Is This Good Patreon at patreon.com/isthisgood, and send topics for future shows to isthisgoodpod@gmail.com. Subscribe on YouTube, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Ryan, the premise of this show is very simple, and you're very qualified to be on the show, by the way.
Yeah.
I hope you feel calm, comfortable, ready to go. Basically, I'm going to give you a topic. You tell me if it's good. And because we're in the heat of summer, the heart of summer, basically this entire episode, or at least most of it, I've scoured the internet for the experts to see what are the best summer activities. And I've selected 10 of them, and I'm going to ask you each on their own if they are good. If we can truly recommend these things for people to do during the summer. So the first, is this a good summer activity question? Building a sandcastle. Is this good?
So I'm going to answer this from the perspective, from a very dad perspective.
Okay, go ahead.
My answer would be different for people. If you don't have children, don't build a sandcastle. Like, that's just silly. Don't do that. If you do, I think building a sandcastle is great for the following reasons. 1, it's a beach activity that we get to leave at the beach. I don't have to lug a bunch of equipment. I maybe need, a pail and a shovel. It's very, it's not an intensive packing thing, and it's not particularly expensive. I love a cheap activity.
So are you saying you don't take sand back home with you from the beach?
I do, but it's not in great quantities, and I'd prefer not to.
Okay.
Number 2, sandcastles teach our children an important lesson about the impermanence of things. Like
Sure.
children need to learn that things are not permanent. Life is not permanent, but maybe they're not ready for that conversation. At the very least, sandcastles are a very useful, concrete way to say, hey, this is a thing we're going to enjoy for now, and then it's not going to be here. And that's okay. Like, we can live in the moment. Number 3, the level of success for a sandcastle is so low. Like, anybody... there are so many art projects I have been asked by my children to do or to help with that I'm like, I suck at this. I can't model clay. I'm not particularly adept at drawing. But, like, building a sandcastle has a real easy, achievable baseline of, like, is it vaguely castle-shaped? Have you ornamented it in some shape, in some way or fashion with a shell or, like, a cool piece of seaweed that you found? Like, the barrier to entry is very low. So I would say yes, building a sandcastle is good.
Now, when you talk about impermanence, is it because you usually just, you leave, you wave goodbye to the sandcastle, and they just know it's not going to be there? Is it because the tide comes and washes it away? Or is it because a muscly guy in a Speedo with a zinc on his nose comes and stomps on it and calls your kids losers?
A muscle man in that full bathing suit with the ridiculous... Yeah. It's a little bit... It's all of the above. Like, it's even something as easy as, okay, if you're bored with this, like, let's just wipe the slate clean. Here, now the sandcastle is done. If you want to build a sandcastle just to destroy it, that's fine too. Like, this is not a thing we have to value for its the effort that we put into it. We don't need it to be long lasting. Like, it embraces impermanence in all of its forms.
Well, what about, do you think it teaches kids a bad lesson? Because to me, what my favorite part of building a sandcastle was building the moat. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I would work real hard on that moat, go to the ocean with a pail, fill it with water.
Yeah.
And despite those impenetrable defenses, it always got knocked down. So I kind of learned, like, what's the point, man? You know?
This is a cheap way to learn about the perils of being a homeowner, my man. Like, would you rather find this out now or after you've signed that 30-year mortgage? Like,
well, that's the problem with homes.
Now. Right, at least
you know. You live in the Tennessee area, but how many houses have moats down there?
Not enough, frankly.
Not enough.
Not enough. And it's a thing, when and if I am elected to city council, we're going to change some of the zoning laws to be a much more pro-moat city.
I think you are a great candidate with your legal background and your, of course, your sports blogging background. I think you're a shoo-in. JD, do you think getting buried in sand is still in vogue? Like maybe like putting boobs on a guy? Is that still a fun thing that people are doing?
Mermaid tail. That's a
100%. Yeah. I mean, last time one of my kids buried my other kid. Definitely got tits and a cock on in the beach, and it was great.
Very progressive, I have to say.
Yes.
If there's protruding genitalia, it's going to be added to the person buried. But I agree with everything that Ryan just said in terms of the value and the fun of it. But he left out the key thing in that I don't have to participate. I just supervise. I just sit on a lawn chair or a blanket with a beer, and I just, put that there, and and they do it themselves, and that's the beautiful
that looks
thing.
Great. Oh, yeah, that looks great.
So this is lessons on home ownership and capitalism and the professional managerial class. I have to say that the most fascinated I've ever been with a sand, contraption is, I was once with on a family vacation with a family friend. He was the father, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Matt, come over here. There's a shell I want to show you." So I walk my little feet over, and then suddenly, boom! I'm like thigh deep in the sand, and I'm like looking around me. How did this happen to me? And then he showed me, like a magician, showing me his trick, that you would dig a hole, put a towel over it, and then gently spread sand over the towel. like it was like like you were a Viet Cong, trying to trap an American. This is
like something out of a Rudyard Kipling short story or something.
Yeah, exactly. But then the problem was, I had this like trick, but I was too young to know about like broken ankles and things of that nature.
Right.
And I did upset some children's moms when I did make them fall into this booby trap. But I mean, anytime you can say booby trap, that's pretty good. So I think we're enjoying sandcastles, but let's move on to the next thing that someone might want to do during the summer. So feeding ducks. And I'll say somehow feeding ducks to me feels more sophisticated than feeding a pigeon, but should it be, Ryan?
Gosh, I think the advantage of feeding ducks over a pigeon is the idea of agency. Like, feeding a pigeon is really you're just changing the order of events. Like, if the pigeon wants your cheeseburger, it's coming for the cheeseburger.
Oh,
the fact that you've decided to share it is really just, you just sort of change the order of operations. But ducks are not an animal that are likely going to swipe your business.
Oh, okay, so you're saying the pigeon is a dog, the duck is a cat.
Yes, correct. Correct. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, I guess, and I don't know, I mean, like, a duck is, I don't feel bad saying this, a duck is an objectively more aesthetic bird than a pigeon. And is that fair? That makes it classier? Maybe not, but that's the world we live in.
What's the relationship between a duck and a swan? If anyone knows, speak up. I don't know the answer. Any relation? Or they're just often in the same pond?
Well, they're both waterfowl, I guess you would say.
They're migratory, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Is a swan migratory?
I think swans migrate.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know.
Maybe that's geese I'm thinking of.
Geese definitely.
Okay.
Because we, as Canadians... You want to talk about geese?
Let's go. Let's talk about geese.
And an hour later...
Yeah. We don't have hard times here, Ryan. We don't have commercials we have to hit. We could sit here talking about Canadian geese all day. And if you want to go into loons, just to take a little lateral step, fucking all fucking day, brother. I wanted to look up, is it okay to feed a duck? Like...
Yeah.
From a autobonal perspective, if I may. So I found this. Yeah. Okay, Ron, do you know the answer to this?
All I know from one of our local parks here, there is a sign that details like, you can feed ducks. Please don't feed them bread. Bread is like the stereotypical thing that people want to feed the ducks, but apparently we're not doing. Listen, this was a shock to me as well, people. We're not doing bread for ducks anymore. Do you have the list of things we're supposed to feed the ducks instead?
Yeah, yes, I do actually. Great, and here's the thing. Like, the ducks got caught in the same 80s and 90s food pyramid as humans did. We were told carbs, that's the plank of the duck. But, okay, listen to this. This is from the Audubon Society. It says, giving bread to wild ducks is basically giving them candy. There is virtually no nutritional value in it. But the birds only know it as a free and abundant food source, so they fill up on those empty carbs instead of nutritional, natural foods. And let me be the first to say, same girl, same! So here's what you should be bringing as the food for ducks. Lettuce or cabbage, corn, though they take pains to write, not popcorn.
Right,
rice, peas, broccoli, tomatoes, and most fruits, but not citrus. So it seems like the ideal thing to bring a duck is that, like, frozen bag of 1950s vegetables, like the little peas, the little niblets, and you just, I don't know, you just fucking open it up and throw it like fucking LeBron James.
You dangle it over the water, and you piñata it, is what you do.
Oh, that's... Okay, a little corn piñata. I do like that. Yeah. It is like the refuge of the lonely person, right? Because as you're feeding them, like, okay, there's this guy in Echo Park in Los Angeles near my house, and anytime I run there, this guy's always there. He's there every single day, and he has got a loaf of Wonder Bread. And here's what he does: he feeds the pigeons and the ducks, of which there are many. And they all gather around him like he's the Pied fucking Piper, and he has like a USB speaker that plays instrumentals, and he raps at the ducks.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so like, I don't know if this is like his open mic, his workshopping, but he's there all the time rapping at these poor ducks. I mean, they don't care, I guess, but I find it disturbing.
Are the raps duck related?
Yeah.
No, JD, they're not duck related.
Are you sure? Have you stopped and listened?
Back those flaps up. I don't know. What would you say? All right, so JD, just give me a hard yes or no here. Feeding ducks, is this
No.
good? Okay, thank you. Moving on. All right, we're not feeding ducks this summer, guys, okay?
They're fine. They live
fine.
for centuries without us feeding them. They're fine.
Exactly right.
They don't need your bread. Tubing, Ryan. Tubing, as in like, you got a motorboat, a rope attached to an inflatable thing. Is that good?
So I grew up in Florida, and so anything
Podcast over.
anything you propose, where it's like, hey, a boat's gonna tow you while you do this, I'm like, yes, rubber stamped. Tubing isn't just good; it's great. Tubing is wonderful for all parties involved. It's great to be on a tube. It's great to be driving the boat and try to throw people off of the tube. Mm-hmm. Like, no doubt in my mind, tubing is good.
People do sort of focus on the enjoyment of the tuber, but it really is a dance. But it is like a bullfight, really, when you think about it. It is, as the tuber, your goal is simply to exist. Yes. On the tube, yes. And as the driver, your goal is to murder that person.
Yeah, in a respectful, Florida safe way.
Yes, but of course, the water, as I'm sure you know, Ryan, when you're going at that speed, it can feel like concrete when you hit it.
Have you ever skipped off water? Like a stone?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling.
JD, can you tell us about a time you were injured in the water?
Well, I've never really been injured doing, like, skipping across the water, but it does hurt. It hurts more than you think it's going to. And when it knocks the wind out of you as well, and you're under the water, that's the worst feeling.
Yes.
But, yeah, that's only really happened to me when I'm water skiing, not so much tubing. Tubing, I'm fine with, I guess. I actually find it a little boring. It's like, as a rider, you want to get thrown off. Like, that's the whole point. That's where the juice is. But
but as the driver, you want to tickle the balls here, right? You don't want to just throw them off right away. You want to give them a feeling of safety and concern, and then you're going, well, is it? We're going across the wake. Is this the time? Yeah, then you see another boat. You ride off their wake. You add to, there's a whole skill to this. Yes. But so as a Florida boy, Ryan, do you think like water skiing is classier than tubing? Like, because I think all these are like, water skiing to me is almost lamer. Like, unless you're slaloming through those.
It's so fun though. Like,
is it?
All of this? Yes, water skiing is so much because you're going fast on the water. Like, the fact that you are going fast above the water, you are defying God. God is like, the water is for you to sink into and maybe try to swim through, and you're like, double middle fingers, I will be skiing atop it.
Yeah.
All I remember from summer camp is, like, you start on the two skis, you get up, you go for a while, then, I don't know, it's the only thing I could think of where it just ends because you're bored, and you just let go of the rope, and now your turn is over, and the whole point is to build you up to one ski, and I did get up to one ski, and I was like, but now this just, I don't get what it is, and then the next morning I wake up and my muscles hurt in places that I didn't know I had muscles, like the tiny little forearm muscles.
Right. That's God's
I don't know
for defying
that is for your hubris. Yeah. Like, unless you're at the point where you're going over a ramp or something, I don't get water skiing either. But
that's fair. I mean, I love it. I love all this, all of this shit. And part of what I think is fun about it is you can put children on a tube. You can put like a 6-year-old on a tube and just be like, here's what you do. Keep your life jacket on and hold on. End of lesson. Here we go. Yeah. Like, that's great.
Yeah, I guess it is good for another way to teach kids that life jackets are actually important, because kids don't actually ever want to wear a life jacket. But you throw them off once, they're like,
yes.
okay, good. Yes. Like JD said, when your wind's knocked out of you, you're pretty happy that an inflatable device is pulling you to the top of the water. All right, next summer activity that may or may not be good, Ryan. Making a bonfire, or having a bonfire, throwing a bonfire. I don't know. What the fuck do you do with a bonfire?
It's not my thing. Like, I don't understand. I just don't come from bonfire culture. Like, I think this is one of those things where you have to grow up around it, or be like, oh yeah, every summer we had a big bonfire. I don't really, again, being a kid in Florida, it never was like, you know what we should do when it's sickly hot, even at 7 o'clock at night? We should build a huge fire and go standard. Like, no, never appealed to me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of is. Whether you think it's good or not, I think depends on how much you want to hear an acoustic guitar.
How much do you love Jack Johnson?
Yeah, that's right. How much do you love songs about bubbly toes? Or the songs of Jimmy Buffett. Those also go well.
Yes.
I don't know. I find that even the last refuge of the acoustic guitar is the bonfire, but I feel like even now people still don't even want to hear the acoustic guitar there. Like, if you're getting that many people together, you're sitting around, people want to talk and drink beer and be boisterous. They don't want to hear your Jack Johnson covers. So I don't know. I do think they're good, but at the end of the day, it's just a fire. Like, I mean, is it s'mores? Is that tipping you into bonfire territory, Ryan? Does that do anything for you?
I guess I just view all of these things as, like, they're good. They're just not summer good. Like, I don't mind, like, oh, we're going to go sit around a fire and hang out and have a drink or make s'mores or, like, roast hot dogs, whatever. I'm just like, I don't want to do this in summer. I don't see the need to do it in summer.
Right. You're making a point based on heat.
Like, I will say,
from Florida, man.
I do understand, even though it's not a thing I want to do. When you say bonfire, part of me thinks of those, like, kind of those old-timey bonfires where you're like, yeah, we tore out every pew in the church, and now we've built the largest fire we possibly could. Like, the idea of how big can we make a fire appeals to a certain part of my lizard brain that I have to admit, like, oh, that would be fun. But again, I don't think I need to do it that would be fun in spring or winter too, frankly.
Well, you bring up a good point, because JD, as a true Survivor fan, aren't they always building big fires to burn ropes? And is that something you've thought maybe you'd like to try?
Hey, fire is life, Matt. Fire is life on Survivor. You have to have fire. And, man, like, the fire's great. Like, does it keep you warm at night? What's the question? What are you asking me?
I'm asking, as a summer activity, are you excited? Say, hey, we're going to go to the beach, build a bonfire.
Yeah,
are you excited?
No, I'm if I'm in northern Ontario and it's late September and it's chilly enough for a fire, yes. But I'm with Ryan. Like, at 7 p.m., let's build a fire for the kids, and we're all sunburned and still sweating. Not interested. Keep the s'mores.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I agree with Ryan. Elementally, there's something in you that wants to create a fire. But then on the other hand, the thing that I think turns it to bad is you have to hear someone talk about making a fire. Yeah. And then they'll be like, they'll gather all the men, the alpha will take control, and he'll say, I need twigs, no bigger than the size of my pinky. You, go get moss. And now...
Moss?
Is moss bad? I don't know, like small, dry leaves.
We want a real smoky bonfire is what we're going for.
Yeah, okay, I guess you guys are the fucking alphas. Okay. Poor old Matt's trudging through the woods. He's got poison ivy now, but you're happy because you built your little teepee. Someone's going, no, you gotta build a teepee! And then there's always someone screaming, like, you gotta leave room for air. Yes, you gotta leave room for air, man. Someone's gonna start, like, turning their head like this and blowing underneath it.
Yeah, bonfires are good for people who paid attention like 2 days of science class in 7th grade.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we're mixed on Bonfires.
I feel like, Matt, you're bringing up trauma from this water skiing camp that you were at.
It wasn't a
the counselors.
Jesus Christ! You think I'd go to a water skiing camp where the sole purpose is to water ski? It's an activity that takes at most 180 seconds. Like, well, no. All right, movies in the park. I think this actually shares something in common with Bonfires, which I mentioned, which is sort of similar in that, like, you've gone through the trouble of making plans. We're old. People have got babysitters. You know, you got some beers. You got some snacks. If you go through the trouble to do all that, you don't want to sit in silence. But Ryan, how do you feel about movies in the park?
So I think these are good if you understand what you're getting into. This is not, like, you shouldn't go to this to be like, oh, I've never seen Serpico, and they're playing it. That's a weird pick, but like,
bring the kids.
Right. Oh, the kids are gonna love Dog Day Afternoon. That's all Pacino this summer at the park. It's really amazing. You shouldn't go see something that you've never seen before that you really want like a cinematic experience for. Mm-hmm. You should go to be like, oh, this movie that we've seen 50 times, we're gonna go watch, and we're gonna, like, you know. There's a food truck, so we're gonna get a pizza or something. Like, it's good for that. It's good for, we are outside, but we're also kind of chilling, and it's around sunset, so like hopefully the area we're in is really nice, and like the movie almost becomes kind of a backdrop to the experience.
But a backdrop to what though? To talking? Because I've never been to one.
Park.
Right, but I've never been to one where even if my friends and I aren't talking, that someone behind us isn't talking. And then it's like, you don't even feel like you can shush. I mean, I don't even feel like you could shush in a movie theater. So I'm certainly not going to shush under God's light, like, you know what I mean? Which is another thing that sometimes these idiots, like, they don't know how to read a farmer's almanac. They're starting these things. I'm watching the credits and the sun hasn't even set yet.
Yes.
And the projector is not, like, a good projector. And the screen... They didn't buy these things at the sharper image. You know what I'm saying, Ryan?
Right. And the sound is, like, you're like, I can kind of hear the dialogue, but not... But that's why I'm saying, like, you do it because you just are like, I would like an excuse to go have a picnic dinner or something. Or,
right, okay.
You know, and there happens to be a movie, and it's a good excuse to do it. Is it, like, the best way to spend park time or a movie time? No, but this is one of those things where when you are in the middle of summer and you're like, we gotta have something to do, we gotta get out of this house. Movies in the park is like a useful standby. Is it this is like your eighth man off the bench where you're like, can I get some quality minutes? Yes. Is this ever going to be an all-star? No.
No, cheap contract too. Free
yes, 100%.
Yeah. JD, movies in the park, yay or nay? And if you'd like to make a case for the drive-in movie instead.
The drive-in movie. I haven't been to one since I was a kid. They're great when I was a kid, but...
Because you'd steam up the windows and make out with your best lady?
Actually, once, but... It was, what did I see? It was The Great Outdoors with Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, yeah.
And John Candy?
Yeah.
All I remember about that movie is the cover where he's like got him on a hook, on the fishing hook. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Class.
Yeah, I saw that at the Woodstock Drive-In. But yeah, no, I'm out. No, these aren't good. It's not. We just at our little pool club thing that we belong to. They just showed Ratatouille for like a midnight swim, but everybody was in the pool. No, like the kids that were young enough to really appreciate and watch the movie, they were already like passed out on the lawn. You know what I mean? Like,
you know, like film creators like during the pandemic went nuts, like Christopher Nolan, when they're like, all right, your movies are going to debut on HBO Max. And they were like, the power of the cinema will not be. And like, so it's like, I'd love to like see like, you go Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Not only is this not in a theater, Christopher, it's in a pool, so people will be doing laps.
we got a sheet that is not tight enough and is not ironed enough.
That's right.
We did, and actually the person that bought it didn't know a queen and a foal were different. So it's actually basically just for a double bed.
We're going to spend 25 minutes figuring out how to connect the Bluetooth speaker to the projector.
Until it's just like, all right, just turn the closed captioning on, okay? We don't know. But JD, it's a Christopher Nolan movie,
you have
so
to
you
do it anyways.
You gotta do it.
You gotta do it.
All right, let's move on to the next possibly good summer activity. So an interesting one. The slip and slide. Is it good, Ryan? And when was the last time you slipped and slid, if you can remember?
So we have like, it's not an impressive one, but we have a base level slip and slide in our that we can
entry model. Sure, smart. Get used to that before you move up to the ones with the pool in them.
So the answer is I've slipped and slid within the last 6 months. Wow. For sure.
Okay, are you not nervous? Because I did a modicum of research here. A 1993 recall reflected concerns over the potential dangers of the slides, reporting that between 1973 and 1991, 7 adults and a 13-year-old suffered neck injuries, quadriplegia, paraplegia, and WAMO, which is the country that makes these, says for safety reasons their slides are made specifically for children 5 to 12 who are under 5 feet tall and under 110 pounds. Now, this is a Zoom call, but looking at you, you look like you do look like you weigh more than 110
I'm 102. Pounds. No, yes.
What are your stats?
Like, you know how baseball players have to learn how to slide. Like, there's a safe way to slide and there's a dangerous way to do it. I am not out here on the slip and slide I'm not trying to break the land speed record. I'm not trying to like do some cool tricks. I'm just sort of like, yep, this is how you slip and slide in a way that is not going to displace my hip. So because of that, no, I'm not particularly worried about it. But it's also just like, okay, yeah, I would give that slip and slide a C-. It's technically what you did do was slip and slide. But they're not putting me on the commercials.
But are the kids enjoying it?
Oh yeah. It's very good for, my oldest is 6, and it's like an insanely easy way to just be like, just go get a neighborhood friend and go tire yourself out for an hour and a half. This is perfect.
Okay, so I did see on Shutdown Fullcast, your podcast, I was scrolling through the feed, I just saw you recently did a 2-parter on DIY projects. Did you cover a DIY slip and slide? Because if you go on YouTube and type in slip and slide, you're seeing a redneck with a hill and an old tarpaulin and some soapy water and a case of Bud.
We did not get any submissions for that. I have made a slip and slide before in the way that you're describing it. This was in high school, and we used dish soap to really get the thing moving. And there were some times where we even as a 17-year-old, I was like, oh, people are moving. This is too fast. This is not good. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend building your own slip and slide, but it can be done. It is out there.
It is out there for you, especially because, according to Wikipedia, the creator of the slip and slide was inspired to make it after watching his son slide on their wet painted concrete driveway. So, like, I don't know. That gives you an idea of like how easy it is to hurt yourself on things. It's just like, this is just slightly more safe than sliding on wet concrete. JD,
I would never feel bad about asking my father for money after that. It'd be like, hey, can I have, I don't know, remember how you invented something because I got hurt? Remember how my injury was the inspiration for you? You jerk.
The driveway was my canvas, and I painted my masterpiece. All right, actually, let's move on to the next one because it's very watery as well. Having a water balloon fight, Ryan, is that a good summer activity?
This is dad me in it again. Yes, as long as it's not my house, because God, I hate picking up water balloon trash. I just hate, it's just so small and it's so everywhere. Like, it's fun, but if we could do it at a neighbor's house, that would be great.
Okay. So I'm actually curious. obviously the winter analog to the water balloon fight is the snowball fight. Snowball fight is vastly superior, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because you don't have to, like, to me, the worst part of a water balloon fight is getting it under the tap and trying to fill it. Never works. Then trying to tie it at the end. Never works. Usually collapses
So
in
I
your own
will
hands.
tell you, water balloon technology has come a long way.
Oh, please speak.
There is now, I forget the company that makes it, and they're not paying you or me, so I don't have to name them. It's fine. But you can basically get a water balloon pack that it has like a little screw-on attachment that you just put directly on the hose. You turn the hose on, and it fills like 30 water balloons at once. And they have these little detachable valves that you sort of like yank the hose off, and it self-ties all the balloons immediately. And you just after maybe 2 minutes, you're like, I have 40 water balloons that are all ready to go.
Okay, I would be the world's worst inventor, because even after you explained that to me, I was like, I cannot create a mental picture in my head of what he's talking about. I don't understand how that might work. It sounds like alchemy, sorcery.
Imagine a cow's udders, but it was water balloons instead.
There's 40 of them, and they're all water balloons.
How does it self-tie? I don't understand.
I couldn't tell you how that...
Yeah,
I think there's like a little ring that like slides down and sort of is like, zip, we're tied now. It's magical.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like all magic, let's not look into it too hard, lest we ruin it. What I really enjoyed was, the WikiHow, the cousin to Wikipedia, where they'll just tell you how to do stuff. There was an article called "How to Win a Water Balloon Fight." And the tips were like, number 1, avoid getting soaked. Number 2, avoid predictable movement. Number 3, take cover. But my favorite part, and I'm going to read some of these to you, was at the bottom, there's a space where you can ask questions. And clearly the people that were asking the questions were joking and, trying to get a rise out of people. And the people answering the questions are taking these questions so fucking seriously. Okay, so here we go. This is a question. What if someone was continuously hitting you and wasn't running out of water balloons as they were right next to all of the water balloons and they were cornering you? Someone, right? Either call a timeout, ask another friend for help in getting you out of the corner, or tell the person pelting you to stop, or to give you a 10-second head start to get more balloons and run away. Okay? Shut up, you fucking nerd. It's not a real question. Much like this one. Is it bad if my opponent hit me in the stomach? Person responds, you should be okay, unless you were hit very hard. If you notice swelling, bleeding, or unusual stomach cramps, you should definitely consult a doctor. Okay, right. The death by water balloon. All right, next question. Ryan, do you have a comment?
Just imagine if you had to go to the hospital and they'd be like, yeah, you ruptured your spleen because your friend hit you that hard with a water. You'd never hear the end of it.
You'd never hear the end of it. Okay, well, what about this one? Question, can I fill the balloons with yogurt? Person responds, yes, you can if you have a lot of yogurt and you and your opponents don't mind being covered in yogurt. Your parents might not be too happy about it if you make a mess, though. If you make a mess. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be no mess from balloons filled with 2% Phi-A Greek yogurt. Okay, then obviously the person that wrote that question was like, shit, I didn't get a rise of them with that. I got to escalate. So they ask, I can't be sure if it's the same person asking these questions, but I'm going to assume it is. Can I fill a balloon with cat pee? Then this is where the person's like, holy shit, they've gone too far. Response, absolutely not. This is an incredibly unhygienic and unhealthy thing to do, both for you and for anyone it lands on. You should not handle cat pee under any circumstances, and a water balloon is made only for filling with water, no other substances. Takes it seriously. And then just finally, just to put a bow on it, someone says, what happens if you run out of balloons and the other team still has balloons? The answer, put your hands up and be honest that you have lost all your balloons. This is called losing.
Like, I don't think the Geneva Conventions apply to a water balloon fight, guys.
Well, you're wrong, because they do. All right,
apparently.
A classic summer activity here. JD, I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on this one. Let's go to you first, actually, because I know you little fucking pervert have done this many times.
Wow.
Skinny dipping.
Oh,
Is this good?
yes, it's great.
Okay.
100% great. Especially in the ocean.
Why in the ocean?
I don't know. You're more buoyant. Lakes are creepy at night. You know what I mean? Like they're deep. They're super, super dark. There's not a lot of movement, you know? Like it feels like there's something lurking under there. The ocean, the surf is still coming in, the moonlight shining down. Not that there isn't moonlight on a lake, but it's just better. It just feels better. You feel freer. You know,
Feels better on your penis.
On your entire body.
Because I don't know what else you could be
Your
talking
perineum.
My perineum, absolutely.
Okay, so Ryan, are you as enthusiastic as JD about skinny dipping?
I would say I am not, and that is probably my biggest Florida failure at this point. I guess my question for you, JD, does skinny dipping have to be a spontaneous thing to be successful? Like, can you go somewhere with the plan to skinny dip?
No,
or do
you
you
can't.
show up and the mood strikes? Like, that's the only way to do it,
That's
right?
the only way.
Okay.
It's the only way to do it.
Okay,
yeah.
so I think I just haven't been in enough circumstance. I'm not going to lead. I'm not going to be the person who's like, why don't we? And I just have not cultivated the friend group that has that like leader within. I guess I need to go places with JD more.
You got to go to bodies of water fully clothed with no swimsuit or anything, because that's the ideal situation.
I see. Where it's
we
like there's
have to go swimming, but we don't have the gear. Let's just do this.
Right.
And you jump in.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'll say, JD, I agree with you. It's nice, but let's be honest. You go in at night, you're not seeing anything, right? I mean, maybe that's why it makes you feel safe, but like...
Oh, you little perv.
From a horniness perspective, it's not the best option. Now, because we just, like, skinny dipping is from the time of adolescence, we just think nudity. Nudity is the best possible thing, okay? But I'm here to tell you that actually I think the much more sensual thing, and I don't mean to be this earnest on this podcast, is, same thing you're talking about, JD, we're just in our clothes, okay, but we're going by a pool. It's a sticky summer city night. We climb the fence, and now boys in boxers, boxer briefs, whatever.
Yeah.
Ladies in bras and panties.
Okay.
Wetness. Now we're having a good time. So I'm just saying nudity is a little overrated.
What you're describing is much more like what you would see out of a teen movie from the 80s.
Yeah, well, that's what I'd like my life to be.
No, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but I would argue it's even more sensual at night in an open body of water where you're right, you can't see much, but it's all that's left to the imagination, and everybody knows they're naked. We're all naked. We're all in the water. We all have boners. You know,
cold boners.
And Jay's like, oh, I think a sperm whale's coming. All right, we got two more to decide if they're good summer activities. Watching a sunset, is this good? And Ryan, I don't know if you have something to say, but let me pose it in this way. Sunrise versus sunset, which is better to watch? He's thinking about it.
I think sunset probably wins in most circumstances. I think mostly if we're talking about summer specifically. If it's summer and I am up and out early enough to see the sunrise, like something has happened or I was like, yeah, we could take the 7 a.m. flight. That's a good choice.
right?
Like the sunset circumstances are much more amenable to it's the end of the day. We've just had a nice dinner or we're just like finishing. We had a nice day at, the water park or whatever it is. Like, I think sunset probably takes this.
Okay. JD, do you agree or disagree? Because I'm a sunrise man.
I'm a sunrise man, and let me give you this scenario, Ryan. You've been skinny dipping all night, so long, and then you're wrapped up next to the person you met that night, and you get to talking, and then the sun starts to rise.
Yeah, that's great. You're not wrong.
Anything better?
You're
Is
not
there
wrong.
anything better?
You're
There's
not
nothing
wrong.
better. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I also like seeing a sunset. I like feeling like it's the beginning of the day. I mean, sunsets are great, but sunrise, something special about it.
But it's easy to see a sunset. All you have to do is be awake past 7:45.
Yeah.
Sunrise is like, you earned it, you know what I mean? And it usually means you're about to do something interesting or cool, like, I don't know, climb something or whatever. That's the only example I have.
Or in Ryan's case, something's gone terribly wrong.
Right.
And you're seeing the sunrise.
Right.
Okay, so 10th and final summer activity to decide if it's good or not. I'm going to warn you, I haven't made up my mind on this one, Ryan, so you can convince me. Flying a kite, is it a good summer activity?
No. Flying a kite sucks. Like,
flying a kite sucks.
Like, it's what it is that flying a kite has a very low floor and a very high ceiling, and that is probably an unintentional kite pun in some way. But like, when you have a good kite on like a good day for it, yeah, it's pretty fun. But most of the time, I think I would like to see the numbers of the number of people who go somewhere with kite in hand and are ready to go and are just like, nah, it was mostly a bust. It was mostly running with the kite, throwing it in the air. It kind of flew, and then it just sucked. Like, I would say it more likely than not, it stinks, and I'd say no.
Right, but even if it was working, and they were like, so we brought the kite out, and the wind was perfect, and it was soaring.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and then what happened? You're like, that was it.
That's it. That's
the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
they were like, it was like sailing, but on land, and we didn't move anywhere.
Right. It's fun for a little bit. It's you know what? I get why it was fun in like the early 1900s because there's nothing to do. You're like, I don't know, let's go put a kite together. There's no television. There's no pro sports to watch.
Or I would even say pre-radio.
Yes,
once radio came along, killed the kites.
Yeah, once baseball and radio were here, everybody was like, fuck kites.
I mean, yeah, like people were... See, because you as an American, I was wondering if you respected kites more because of Benjamin Franklin, whereas Canadians, we're happy about electricity.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I mean... that, while it is a good story, I'm just like, I feel like there are other ways you could have accomplished that. I don't think the kite was essential. And also, I'm going to be honest, if that's how it went down, there are 30 other nights where Ben Franklin was out there sopping wet with his kite being like, God damn it just won't fly. This sucks.
But I just thought, like, how it was saying, oh yeah, the wind was perfect and it was great, and then what happened? I guess Benjamin Franklin is the one exception, because then you're like, and then what happened? Then you'd be like, then I invented electricity.
Then I harnessed the power of lightning in a key.
You fucking moron. Sorry I wasn't just watching a dragon dance up there for a while. I was busy doing stuff. All right, well, those are 10 summer activities. Let us know what you think about them. But we've just told you what we think the keys to, key pun, having a good summer are. But we ought to move on because, Ryan, when people need help navigating life's biggest decisions, they seek our wise counsel, and we deliver an airtight verdict. It's time to settle this. Reminder, if you need advice or found yourself in a quandary or a pickle, email us at isthisgoodpod@gmail.com. Tell us what's going on. We're going to help you, just like we're about to help this person. And Ryan, I am sorry to have to ask you this question, but our readers write in, we have to help them. This is a legally binding thing.
Yeah, sure,
but,
I get it.
I am sorry for what I'm about to read to you. All right, dear Matt, I recently started a new job, and while I will be working remotely, I did go to the office on my first day to get to know everybody. Everything went swimmingly, and I was confident I was making a good first impression. Alas, when I went into the one single stall bathroom they had for a brief pee visit, I realized somebody had failed to clean up after themselves. I'm not talking worst toilet in the world levels here, though he is talking worst toilet in Scotland levels. You know what? I'm editing this part fucking out because I just fucked it up. I'm gonna take it again from this part. Right. Alas, when I went into the one single stall bathroom for a brief pee visit, I realized someone had failed to clean up after themselves. Oh my god, I'm trying to take this part out of this email because it makes no sense and I keep fucking it up. Never mind, I'm reading it as it is. Now maybe we'll leave this in. Alas, when I went into the one single stall bathroom for a brief pee visit, I realized somebody had failed to clean up after themselves. I'm talking worst toilet in Scotland levels here. Though I luckily didn't have to dive into it, much like Mark Renton, I was faced with a difficult decision. Do my business and leave everything as is, at the risk of people thinking it was me who blew the place up, or literally clean up someone else's shit. Please help me settle what the correct option was. Thanks for all the larfs. Loyal Peahound, Chris. So the thing I was trying to take out there, Ryan, was the reference to, of course, Trainspotting, Worst Toilet in the World, when Mark Renton, played by
Ewan
McGregor, thank you. He's on heroin, obviously, and he gets these opioid suppositories. He puts them in, but then he has to take a shit. He goes to the toilet. It's the worst toilet in Scotland. It's like filled with piss and shit and garbage. He takes the shit, but then realizes the suppository is out of his butt, and then he climbs into the toilet to find it.
Yeah.
In a moment of magical realism that simply blew me away in the cinema. But now that we've got that out of the way, what do you think he should have done? You think he should have walked out of there and risked someone thinking, oh my God, what the hell did that guy just do in there? Or should he have cleaned up someone else's shit? And he did tell me what he did, but I took that out of the email. I don't know why I didn't take the fucking Trainspotting reference out of there.
What's wrong with the Trainspotting reference?
Well, I just, it's an old reference, and I don't know if our audience is going to get it, and then I was going to have to explain it. So on the fly, I tried to edit it out. I didn't do a good job.
We ended up here anyway. It's all right.
But we ended up here. So what would you have done?
Ironically, you are dealing with the same question of, do I deal with someone else's mess or not?
Right. Right.
I think there's an option 3, which is go find an adult. Like, if you're at a workplace, there is... I've never been at a workplace where it's like, oh yeah, we expect if the toilet clogs, we expect you, person who clogged it, to figure it out. Like, there is somebody, there's an office manager, there's janitorial staff, somebody who you can go to and say, like, hey, there is a problem, and I need help with this. Like, that feels like the move. And
but what if it's not clogged? What if it's not what if you could just flush the toilet, get some paper towels, roll them around your hand like a mitten, get into the bowl. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what you're proposing is starting to sound like, and I think you should leave sketch where, the office workers are sitting around the office going like, all right, so this guy came in, right? He took a shit, and I don't think he knew that you could flush your own shit. So then he goes to get a janitor
for help, and
makes the janitor come over and flush his own shit.
I mean, that's memorable too, I suppose. Yeah, I guess you do have to clean it up then. I guess the you don't have to do a spit shine job or anything, but I think you do have to leave it in some level of acceptable repair. Like, okay, this is leave it better than you found it.
Beautiful.
Unfortunately.
What does they say? Take nothing but memories, leave nothing but footprints. JD, what would you have done? Clean the shit? Or...
That's the only option is you got to clean it.
You got to clean it.
You have to. And it's a win-win, too, because say somebody else went in, at least one other person knows about it, and that's the person that blew it up, right? Mm-hmm. And so that person is like, new guy just went in there. I hope he doesn't know it was me, Or I bet there were other people who went in there and just sort of went around it or just walked away and said, I'll wait till I get home. So the two options are you use it, you walk out, and people think you blew it up, or you clean it up, and they think, hey, new guy cleaned up the bomb that Jerry just set off in there. You know what I mean?
Okay, I do agree with you. The only thing I will have to correct you on is I guarantee you if you just go, if it was clean, you went in and just peed and then left it clean, no one would be thinking, wow, that guy really knows how to use a bathroom. I think they would just
I'm not
not
saying
have
that.
a thought.
I'm saying that they knew it was blown up already. Right. That's all. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Chris says that he did clean it up because he said he didn't want to, but he just couldn't risk. He called it getting a shitty reputation. Yeah. Pardon the pun. I forgive you for the Trainspotting reference, Chris. No, it was a good reference.
It's a great
reference. Yeah. It's just that I don't know I don't know. I didn't know how familiar everyone was with the work of Irvine Welsh, JD.
Listen, the audience is very sophisticated. Let's not underestimate them.
Let's not talk down to the audience.
And those who don't get it, catch up.
Watch Trainspotting. Honestly, great movie.
It's good to be challenged.
Yeah,
it's good to be challenged.
Exactly.
And unlike me, you won't have to wait 20 years for the sequel. Okay, that's out already. I forget what it's called. I think it's just called T2.
Trainspotting 2, I think.
Trainspotting 2.
T2 is Terminator 2.
More trains. T2 was not the sequel to Trainspotting.
It was, actually, yeah.
It was.
That's a confusing bit.
Yeah, it's very... Took a real... It must have been a heroin fever dream, the whole movie. Mark Renton is John Connor. All right, JD. So, what were you gonna?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I just did this at the Vegas airport where I had to clean up a fucking stall. It wasn't shit. It wasn't terrible. Well, there was shit in the toilet, but there was piss all over the seat and stuff. And I had to clean it up. Because I couldn't walk out of the stall thinking that was me, even though I don't work there. I'm
Nobody
just a
knows
guy.
you there. Yeah,
nobody knows me.
Yeah,
but yeah,
but no, yeah, exactly. It's sort of the perfect crime. Like,
who are these people walking around befouling the restroom? Like, I understand if you break it and you actually can't clean it and fix it yourself, like that stinks, and you should do something. That's where you should go talk to somebody. But like, I understand that you walked away because you had no choice. Who are these people who are just like, yeah, I just left it like that?
Yeah.
Like,
people that had to catch a flight?
There is no flight that you are going to miss because you flushed. None.
That's exactly
I almost
right.
literally missed the flight because I was taking a shit. Not like I left it bad. I mean, because of the taking, not because of the cleanup.
Sure, the process itself.
Yeah. But I was young and I learned my lesson. All right, so we're all saying settle this. I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to clean it.
Gotta do.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta do. All right, Ryan. There's only one thing left to do.
Okay.
It's time to play subjective trivia. So subjective trivia is just like regular trivia, except only I know the answer. So we're talking a lot about summer, fun things to do during the summer. So today's question is, I want you to rank the following bodies of water in order of best places to chillax during the summer.
Okay.
So your number one place will be the number one place to chillax during the summer, and then the last one will be the worst or the least good place. And if you're wondering, did I make this graphic? Yes, I did make this graphic. Okay. So I do have my answer written down.
Wait, did you pick the items?
The items to place on the graphic?
Yes.
Yes, I pulled them in from the clip art section of Canva. I said, oh, that one looks nice. Oh, ice cream cone's cute. Actually, the second line is a pair. Like, the second line, those are all one image, but all 6 other things I did select myself.
You are halfway to a pretty solid barbecue invitation here.
Yeah.
All right, do you want me to go best to worst or worst to best?
Yeah, why don't you go best to worst, actually?
Okay.
And you can consult with JD if you want, but we're trying to get our answers to match up in a perfect world.
All right, JD, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you my initial feeling, my ranking, and then you tell me where you think I've gone astray.
Okay, do it.
I'm going pool 1, ocean 2, river, lake, some combination of 3, 4, quarry 5.
Yeah,
where am I off?
I'm with you in the river lake. I think the lake would be ranked higher.
Okay, I think that's right too. I will say, you've got me in my own head thinking about the scary skinny dipping at night in the lake where you get murdered. But I think that's So I think all right. So if I say pool, ocean, lake, river, quarry, how do you feel about that ranking?
I feel good. I feel good. Here's where I'm struggling.
Okay.
Here's a man who's from Quebec. I'm sure he spent some time in the Laurentians. Beautiful lakes out there. But he also lives in LA. He moved there by choice. It's right next to the ocean.
Yeah, sure.
So I think recency bias. He's more into the ocean. So I think you nailed it. I think you got it.
All right, so I'm going to lock this in. We're going to say pool 1, ocean 2, lake 3, river 4, quarry 5, 100, whatever you want to put it. Quarry is scraping the bottom of this barrel.
Okay, now the good news is the bottom of our list, the bottom 2 on our list are the same. River, quarry are the bottom 2. That means the top 3 are the same, but just in a different order, and we did not match up because I wrote your answers. I did this like fucking shit. I'm not at my house now, Ryan. The guests don't know this, but I had a mold problem. I moved out. I don't have any of my cute little cue cards anymore. So here I'm going lake, pool, ocean, river, quarry, and JD was 100% right. Because now you get an invitation. It's the summer. I don't have a pool. I don't know. I know JD doesn't have a pool. Ryan, I don't know what you're doing down there in Nashville. Okay. What is a pool except a moat that's all in one place? With no...
I don't think that's what a pool is.
That's not a pool. Okay. Well, dare to dream. Now, if you told me, like, oh, hey, a buddy has a pool and they just invite you over, you're going to be pretty psyched, right, in the summer?
Yes.
Yeah. But now if someone invites you to a lake house, are you not more excited than being invited to someone's house to the pool? I mean, there's a whole song about sitting on a dock. And though sitting on the dock of the bay, is that in San Francisco?
That's an ocean.
Can a bay be on a lake? No. Georgian Bay? That's a lake?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can have a bay on a lake.
So you think Otis Redding was in Georgian Bay?
No.
Because I highly doubt
it. I
do not. Okay. Georgian Bay, is that Ontario?
Georgian Bay is Ontario, yeah. Okay,
so, Otis Redding definitively did never spend any time in Northern Ontario, I don't think. I'm going to Google Otis Redding, Muskoka. See if he ever spent some time up there in Gravenhurst. Anyway, so lake, I think sitting on a dock overlooking a lake. And lake, you don't have to deal with the salt water of the ocean. You don't have to deal with sharks. True. I know it seems scary, but there's truly nothing in a lake that can harm you.
That's true.
At least in a Canadian lake.
Yeah. This is where the Floridian in me is like, nope. There's like 12 things.
Oh yeah. Okay. Look, if we're talking Lake Okeechobee, and I hope I pronounced that right because I've never said it out loud.
You nailed it.
Fuck
actually.
no! I'm not going in. I'm not going in any body of water in Florida. How about that? Much less a river. River's probably worse, right?
I would say pool is definitely number 1 in Florida. Not because there's not wildlife, but because the wildlife is clearly visible. Like that's you're like, that's a snake.
Yeah.
Right. I completely agree. All right, so I'm going lake number 1, pool number 2, ocean number 3, just because of deadliness, riptides, salt in the water, sand in your butt. Just a pain in the ass to get to, too. What am I, sitting on traffic on the 10? You know what I'm talking about, Ryan. And then quarries are last because I'm not in a fucking Bruce Springsteen song. Or, no, that's a reservoir. I remember driving in her mother's car, her body tanned and wet down at the reservoir.
I think quarries
is a reservoir and a quarry the same?
No, I don't think so. I think quarries are purely, my understanding, and this is totally made up. A reservoir is a place where we have decided we are keeping water here.
Right.
Like, this is a choice we're making. A quarry is like, this used to be a place where we dug something out, rock or mineral or whatever, and now it is filled with water. Just on accident. We accidentally built a water pit. Like, for me, if you say quarry, the first word association I have is corpse found at.
Yes.
100%. Yeah, that's 100% true. And a reservoir, we definitely shouldn't be swimming in then if we're storing water there.
No.
We're going to be drinking that later.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I've never swam in a quarry, but I kind of... Do I want to, Ryan?
You don't. No,
I don't want to? Okay,
no,
I don't want to. Okay, that's why it's last on my list, and I'm happy about it. All right, well, I think people have learned a lot about things to do during the summer, where they should be swimming, if they should be slip and sliding. So I'm very satisfied with the way this went. Ryan, where can people find you?
You can find me at Celebrity Hot Tub on now like the 18 different social media apps that we have, which is just delightful.
Hold on, you're telling me you got at Celebrity Hot Tub on Mastodon? It was available?
That one, I don't even know at this point what I have and don't have. Like when I die, that will be the rummage that my children have to go through. They'll be like, "Why does he have all these stupid accounts? Why did he leave them to us?"
Have you done a thread? Have you threaded a thread?
I have decided that I am only using Thread to post random photos that I find on my phone from like where. So like the first thing I threaded was this picture I really love of Bill Belichick on the cover of like Nantucket Sailing Magazine. That's it. That's all I'm doing on Threads. I don't know what else it's for. So you can find me there, or you can listen to the Shutdown Fullcast, or as part of this dumb podcast tour I'm doing, I might pop up on another show that you listen to, and you'll be very annoyed that I'm there. I'm sorry.
No, we're happy to be your 74th podcast. It sounds like this one's going to come out before some of these other shitty ones that people are still editing.
That's right.
Okay, we get the job done, okay,
yes,
Ryan?
Yes.
We record, then we release.
Yes.
We don't hold it.
Make it happen.
Okay, this content's not evergreen.
All right.
This came out in the fall.
This is grape juice.
Yeah, I wish I'd known that I shouldn't be slip and sliding. All right, remember to check us out at patreon.com/isthisgood, and send us emails at isthisgoodpod@gmail.com, and rate us on Apple Podcasts. I do like reading those. Subscribe on YouTube, leave a comment. I like reading those too. I just like reading, okay? Beach reading, another good thing to do. You can't have a beach read at a quarry, tell you that much.
So true.
All right, I'm glad we got all that settled. Thanks for listening. Thanks to JD. Thanks to Ryan for coming on. Thanks in advance for leaving a 5-star review for everyone. I'm Matt Austin, and this was good. We'll see you next week.